let me see what we got here. So the first one up is going to be Dan Bigda. Dan is new, as I said, to the program. And welcome to the show, Dan. And
Good evening.
we appreciate you coming on. And you and I have been, I don't know, texting each other for probably a better part of 3 years. The Mutual Admiration Society, complimenting each other's work.
Right. I would agree. Yes.
And he's got a wonderful kit. Is that a kit or a scratch build? I never did
It's
ask
a
you.
scratch.
Oh, that's even better. That's right up my alley, as you know. So
In fact,
this scratch build is wonderful. And
thank
Phil,
you.
if you could put that up, and we'll have a little question and answer series at the end.
Tom, just about everything you've seen me put together over the last couple of years have all been scratch.
That's terrific.
Like yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, maybe before we start, let me give you a quick 5 minute interview since you are new to the program.
Okay.
So how'd you get into model railroading?
My dad made me have a hobby. And so, very young, I picked model trains and been in it ever since. And now my life is 24/7 model trains or real trains. So,
What scale did you start in, and what scale are you in now?
had the when I first started, it was the original Tyco AHM train sets. We all remember that AHM train set with the layout on the back of the box. That was pretty cool. Everybody wanted to emulate that as a kid. Then I went to N scale, and then eventually had more room, and ended up in O scale. It's since moved, and right now, in between, probably getting a house here in the next 3 months. So in the place I'm at, it's close to my mom to help her out. And while that is, I needed a hobby room, so I built this. And for a couple of years, been just building ON30, O scale type, Warf type models to a Warf scene that I'm going to put together.
What do you enjoy most about model railroading? The building of structures, the running of trains,
The build,
the build.
yeah, the creativity behind building.
In your new layout, that'll be an ON30 layout.
Yes, that'll be correct.
Will you have that DC or DCC or both, or what's your scheme?
I would like to have DCC. Um, we'll see. I mean,
Or dead rail to our
yeah,
discussion.
and Dead Rail is kind of cool too. So, at the Amherst Railway Society, at their once a month meetings, they talk a lot about Dead Rail and have shown it and piqued my interest in Dead Rail. So we'll see where this goes.
Well, if you can attend next week's show, I might be able to coerce Steve Sherrill, who's probably the biggest proponent of dead rail and narrow gauge model railroading in the country. Get him
Sure,
on to talk about that again. He's the acknowledged expert in that.
I'll
Um,
be there then.
yeah,
That's
if
cool.
he's on the show, I'm sure that's a big surprise to him right now. Well,
Very good.
let's start with the program then. Let's see what your scratch build. And I love scratch building, so I'm
Yeah, I
interested
mean,
to see. Yeah.
your recent kit is phenomenal. I mean, I can't I can't comment enough what I actually think on the on your post. So
Thank you. Well,
you
that's
did an
that.
excellent job. I mean,
We're talking
unbelievable.
about the big tipple, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that was a monster undertaking. I don't think I'll be doing one of those for a while again.
yeah.
Let's see what you've got because that's just magnificent.
And one thing I want to say before we jump in this is with Facebook and the tool that it's become in the internet itself, with modelers like yourself posting and me seeing all these other great modelers that do post, it just I don't think I'm as good as you guys, and I try to raise my level to what you guys are at,
I
and
I think you're just as good as anybody, as we'll see.
yeah, and I get that, and I'm trying to be humble and everything else, but it's such a great tool to look at, and see your work and other people's work. Greg Cassidy, another one, a bunch of other guys, and I'm glad they post, because one thing I see in the industry, and I've worked for Lionel Trains, I've worked for other model companies, and people are intimidated by a Craftsman kit. And somehow, one of the things I figured out, and I talked to a manufacturer, is how do we get these people over that hump of buying a $300 kit and then get them to work on it without feeling like if they make a mistake, or it's not going to look like the box cover. And that's one of the biggest things I try to help people with. I used to hold modeling classes and things like that, of trying to get over the hump to not only get their hands on working on that Craftsman kit that they spent so much money on, but also how do you fix a mistake? And that's what they don't know yet. And
Yeah.
so,
Well, we'll need to move into your presentation here, but I
yeah.
know exactly what you're talking about. I had a scratch build that I considered a failure. It was a coal tipple, the Durango uh, coal tipple, built directly from plans from a friend of mine, Tim Malena, and I miscolored it, let it sit on the shelf for like 6 or 7 years, and I went back and rebuilt it. And up until the coal tipple that I just built, I considered it my best scratch build. So you can do what we call recovery modeling, another term coined by our Steve Sherrill. And we have whole programs on that. So stick around. Let's see what you got this
Sure.
evening. Got a
Yep.
full slate here tonight.
Yep. Sorry for that off rant, but
No, it's okay. No, we're all about what you just did.
yeah. So this is this was actually built out of norm from all the wood kits I've been recently building, and working with a manufacturer. I'm trying to get him to change some of his kit mediums, and so with this, making it corrugated and what you see here with some wood on the top for the shed up there, staircase shed and so forth, was out of my realm of what I've been usually working on. Even though working in styrene is quite normal, it just if you look at and do research on buildings or wharfs or where there's a collection of buildings, you start doing individual research on each building or what's around there or what you want, you find out they're built with different mediums, whether they're corrugated steel like this, or wood, or some other type of panel, or even some of the modern day stuff that's out there. So I haven't built a plastic or scratched the plastic structure in a couple of years. And so get back into it. This is the result of an area and location I want to put up that I have for the wharf that I'm making, that this will fit into. So I don't have a name for the kit. You kind of named it, but Riley and the dog called Anchor are names of, they're essentially me and my dog. Through the course of building this wharf, they're their inspectors. And they go around to each building. And as I'm building it, they're in kind of every photo I put in and say, oh, they're here checking this out or checking that out. And so with this as the finished photo, they're essentially going to head upstairs and have some tasty beverages up at the top with the guys taking a break. So as the wharf evolves, there's a whole story I'm putting together behind the wharf, which is called Cliffs Wharf, and the actual town is Finn Gill. And they're fictional and they're just modeled off of different things or cool buildings I see in just general research of something. I go, oh, that would fit here, and I build it. So you can go next, I guess. Um, Everybody has their favorites for gluing the kits together. There's this super glue, wood glue that you find for $1.25 at a dollar store. And to me, the stuff is phenomenal. It works great. I use it. Since I found it, I've only used that. It's a really good glue. It's really strong, and you get a lot of it for a very good price. And then, of course, there's water super glue. I don't think I can live in modeling if that wasn't available as a glue. So just to show some of the glues I use when putting together, that's basically the two for every kit I do. You can go next. So here we got, let's see, some of the builds started. Um, let's see, I had built the structure with the tank on it to start with, and the actual tanks were built out of tape dispensers that were left over, and I saved that stuff. And I save all sorts of weird stuff because you never know when to use it. I ended up cutting it in half, and that became the top and the bottom. And then I just glued wood slats on it, and that became the tank. And then I have this 1 millimeter Tamiya tape that I paint black and tape it off. That looks like the straps for the tank. And then the roof came from Jeff Markin, that's on Facebook too. And I was looking for the Campbell scale model roof. I didn't have any, and he sent some over, so thank you. And I thought it worked good for those tanks, the water tanks. Um, this kit too, being O scale or essentially ON30, but O scale with Riley and Anchor. Those windows are from a HO scale factory from some kit that I found somewhere cheap and stole the windows out of it. So with the corrugated, it gets painted. You got to cut out all the roofs and the windows and everything else to get everything to fit and make it look like as the first picture. You can go next. Here again, just the further view, essentially the workbench, with some background photos that I go off of to help me build or keep me in the direction I want to go to eventually end up with a finished scratch built kit. And then you see, like in the background, the modified glue holder for the MEK. And then there's stains. I don't know, there's everything all over. As we all know, when we're building, your workspace becomes smaller and smaller as you do more and more. Next thing you know, you end up with like a 6x6 little work area, and then you got to re-clean everything, and then you start again. But and there's essentially where I kind of hang out a lot of my life is at this workbench. So next, yeah, there's the kit all by itself, the start of the kit. And when I built this, I didn't know what I wanted behind it, so I just started building something which I thought looked good in the scene where it's going to be. Uh, which then the corrugated build came next. So next, there's the repositioned MEK glue holder with the tester's brush. Believe it or not, they don't melt with the MEK. So if you finding your brushes while you're using MEK, the tester's ones just they don't melt and they don't get affected by the MEK. So there's a modeler's note for y'all. Oh, this is the beginning of the kit, the bottom, the one we just saw. This essentially don't take any dimensions when I start something. I just start using the door and start putting pieces together. And then eventually you saw that tower with the water tank. So here's the doors laying around, different pieces I used to finally get to a finished product. Next. I use these 1, 2, 3 blocks all the time. And then behind the blocks, those flat metal things are called parallels, and they use those in vices for mill machines. But they're great for holding parts down or even putting glue on and dabbing the super glue onto a part and so forth. So here, these 1, 2, 3 blocks are keeping that whole piece together as it's glued and or setting up in the glue and so forth. And I probably have 18 of the 1, 2, 3 blocks and just about every size parallel in the background that I use to hold different things. Of course, the bottling square, in the background too to make sure everything's square. But I don't know, for some reason, the past 3 or 4 buildings I put together, I don't know why they end up crooked. I end up having to pry them back and everything else. It's a every real fun time straightening out my kids, kids as they're being built. So it's a good thing I know how to fix it. But anyways, next. So here's the model coming together uh, with the corrugated, and I paint and pre-paint everything before I put it all together. You see the doors. I usually do things in light colors. Usually my windows and doors start white, and from there I can either darken them up, tan them, I can weather them, and so forth. So generally, my white or a flat white is my basis for any doors and windows, and then they end up whatever color I end up doing them as a, like you said, a chalk or a stain or so forth. And the windows, like I said, the big windows are from some HO kit. I don't even know where they came from. The other windows and doors are either Tichy or Grant Line, and even those I modify to fit certain places and so forth. So with this, um, an interesting thing, I got this aluminum paint, premium silver paint, and every time you paint that, it's always too bright. So what I found out when I paint the silver is I immediately put matte clear right on them, and it tones it down and actually turns it into the color you see here and takes the brightness out of it. And it's a great effect. It really works good. And the other good thing is when you paint silver and then you don't cover it with anything, silver paints or metallic paints always seem to never dry. They always seem viscous. So with the covering of the matte, it does two things: help dry the silver or any metallic paint you have, and then next, it the when you go to weather on the silver with the matte on it, it seems to hold better and hold the stains or hold the dust, the weathering dust and chalks and so forth that you put on the corrugated and the plastic. So these little tips that I found that seem to work when I'm modeling these things to help tone down or help get like every clear plastic piece I paint, because as we all know, you just can't weather a piece of plastic because it will never stick to it and so forth. So these weathering chalks and whatever all need to have something to adhere to. You go next. And again, we have Riley and Anchor sitting there looking at everything. What's cool about the roof is this roof was I saved from another kit that I tore apart. And I was actually building a Helgen plastic kit. I think that was the last plastic I touched probably a year ago or more. And I made ended up making a brewery complex out of it. But the original, that kit went through three renditions, the Helgen brewery kit, got torn apart 3 times before I eventually liked something I built with it. But out of that, the roofs on there were the roof you see here, and I saved them. And so what I did with this is saved it, and I'm like, I don't have to make a roof, and I cut this up to fit the corrugated building here. And so again, saving all sorts of weird parts and not kind of throwing certain things away. This roof has these 1/4 inch uh, sides there, and when I tore apart from the building, they all tore apart some of that 1/4 inch piece of wood. Basswood is what it is. And so to me, it looked great as a great kind of rotted feature on the side of the roof up there. And it gave a great, it left a great effect when I tore it apart originally. So again, those windows were from some kit, and now the roof was also cut and put into place. And I thought it looked out when the finished product, I thought it looked pretty good. So next. Here I show the tape dispensers. Um, Fortunately, I thought I had a picture of me building those, but I cut those in half, and then I had 20 thou by maybe a 64th inch strip, and I started laying them down on the tape dispensers in length, and ended up making and going around the whole tape dispenser. And I used actually tacky cement, but I sanded the round of the tape dispensers so the tacky glue had something to adhere to. So then when I put everything together, you had time to adjust the slats going up and down. And once it all sat and it was set, rather, I mean, and I tapped it all with super glue, and it really held it really nice. But again, saving the weird things, the tape dispensers and cutting them in half made the inside of the tanks. Next, yeah, same thing here again. You can kind of see the detail of the roof line up there. Um, the front of the roof, it's all kind of torn, kind of bumpy and everything. Great again. It's a great effect that happened when I tore apart that Helgen kit. Next slide. And there they are. You can kind of see the top of the tank with the half the tape dispensers on each side. In fact, there's a wood piece I didn't cut when I took the picture on the left tank. And there's the tanks as they're being built. So again, even before I got to this point, I didn't know the tanks would end up there. That water handler piece to the left on the that's overhanging, that just threw together with some parts, and I thought, oh, that looks good, so I threw that there. The kits just come together. I don't make any plans, and at the end, I got something that people think look cool. So I keep going with what works for me, and just starting from zero and putting something together is how this is done. A side note, there's a few projects I did in the recent past. Look, I did a Kodak film um, island store for a parking lot, and I had to write critical dimensions down for that and so forth. So that was like the last time I did um, wrote anything down for dimensions when I built the Kodak uh, island store. So, anyways, um, yeah, next slide. Again, I got the 1, 2, 3 block. I didn't glue that yet. When I was placing it there, was holding it down because where all the piping's coming out made it front end heavy, so it wouldn't hold up by itself. So the 1, 2, 3 block is there to hold it there as I started to measure out the pipes coming, which would eventually end up in front of the tanks to pull the water out. So this being a canning company, like the other two I did, has a lot of water in tanks to clean the foods and do whatever else they do in a canning company. It's my assumption on how a canning company works. So when I did a little research on canning companies, they use a lot of water. So hence all the tanks. Next slide. Oops. So there it is coming together before I weathered it and everything else. Uh, all the all the pipes essentially are just held together by pressure. The tanks are sitting on its platform. Everything all there is just sitting there. And Riley and of course Anchor, the dog, are up on the roof checking everything out and thinking everything's cool and being built right and so forth. Of course, I'm setting this layout around the 19 early 50s era rather. So you did see some corrugated buildings like this or other types of buildings, and it allows me to do different things in that era. Also use kind of some neat vehicles that'll be on this Warf project and so forth. But um, yeah, next. So yeah, this is pre-weathered. So next slide. And there's the final shot with everything weathered. Uh, Essentially, it's all either weathered with the windows. I think I did with the hunter line stains, and then I put some of the weathering chalks on it. But everything else is essentially the weathering chalks, and where you got water, where you got rust, steel, and everything, where rust would develop. You could see where I tried to emulate that um, on this project for this kit. And looking at back at corrugated from that time, they really had no rust preventative paints or anything back then. So everything, and this is going to be by a river ocean type wharf scenario. So the salt or the waters essentially just ate away the paints, and the buildings became all rusted. And so you see the different color rust and so forth of what's going on. And then, of course, those roofs are all from that previous Helgen kit I tore apart, and did all those with just regular acrylic paints that you would buy at Walmart, for example, and just kind of watered up the paint and dabbed them in there. And then what I made the tar lines with is this fabric paint, which is kind of some cool stuff. It flattens out a little bit, but doesn't flatten out like a regular acrylic paint. And actually, it looks like you fixed an area with the tar or tar paper and the tar. So you see the tar lines and everything in that if you really look in on the photo and so forth, and you can see it on the single stack structure where the tar lines are on that black roof. So so essentially that's took about 4 weeks, almost 5 weeks to put this together, and giving it about an hour and a half a night. And then sometimes on Saturdays and Sundays to work on it. So it's quite a few hours, and each time you scratch build it, and Tom can probably relate, and all you other scratch builders here, it takes a lot of time to scratch build and think forward and plan ahead before you glue something together and so forth. And but here we are, and I have many more kits and so forth that I have for this wharf, and hopefully we can have a show on that too. That would be kind of cool. I'd like to present that. So
Excellent, Dan.
yeah, yep.
Excellent. Do we have any questions for Dan? And then I have some comments on his.
Yeah, I've got one. Hey, Dan, it's Greg.
Hey, Greg.
First of all, I wish they could show a picture of your Kodak shop. I think that's one of the best things you've ever done. That thing was fantastic.
Oh, really?
And this came out great for absolutely no planning, I've got to say. But I noticed you have on your bench some of the Hunterline Cottage White, which is a pigment more than a stain.
Yeah.
When you use that, and I know you do a lot of building in wood, do you tend to shake it before you use it, or do you use it thin, where you don't shake it and you're just getting the stuff on the top, which gives you a thinner coating? Have you found one way you tend to use it more?
I always thin it. In fact,
Uh-huh.
I'll even take one of these little cups that actually I don't know, Todd Brian, he
Yeah.
gave me a bunch of these, and I'll pour it in it and put 91% alcohol
Hmm.
and turn it into more of a stain, because
Okay.
I do, as you see it, use it more as a stain than as a pigment to fill in. And what happens is I get that part to whiten up,
Yeah.
and then I could do light weathering on what I whitened up, and it seems to work. Especially, it doesn't work on plastic, but
Uh-huh.
any wood
Yeah.
or paper, it works perfect.
Yeah. The alcohol tends to run off the plastics. I've got a couple of those pigments.
Right.
I've got the cottage and the cement and shale.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I like
I
using them different ways.
Yeah, I have the light gray, which is kind of a base
Hmm.
for all the kits, all the scratches you saw me do with the other buildings. Is that it's kind of been my base, but then I'll chalk or do whatever.
All
Um,
right.
Yeah.
Well, nice job. Say hi to Anchor and Riley for me.
I will. More to
Any
come
other
too.
any
So
other questions for Dan?
Yeah, I actually have a couple of questions, Dan,
sure.
and a comment, by the way, before go. You said 91% is your dilution. When we had the hunters on doing a build a few years back, I asked the question what she used, and she said she used 70% alcohol for stains.
Hmm.
So just as a side, it was kind of an
Yeah.
interesting comment. I know I always bought 91% because I thought it was better for warping, but she said she mixes the base stains with 70%. So
Really? All right.
yeah, so you can buy the two bottles at Costco for $5 and save a little money. Two questions. Your piping. What did you use for the piping on the big thick water pipes?
All right. I'm gonna. You know what? I looked. I knew that question was going to come up, and I went through my emails because I just reached out to the gentleman. I need to get more. If it's okay, I can
Yeah, yeah.
post it or email it to
Yeah,
you.
no, or just come back and let us know in the future. It's
We
Yeah,
don't need to know at this
because
instant. Yeah.
I tell you, 3 minutes before we're coming on, I'm like, I know someone's going to ask, and I tried to look through, and I couldn't get to the.
so
Uh,
a second question. Hang on, I think I've got this here. Let me make sure I've got this where I can. I don't. So when you did the water tanks, you used the basically they look like they were just essentially cheap tape dispensers, the little ones for basic tape. You
yeah,
look like you put wood sticks on those to extend the height. And so kind of what you can do is just use two of those and use wood sticks to glue them together to make any water tank any height you want.
Yeah.
That's
well,
good. That was cool.
let me add to that. You're right. Now, the I don't have one here to show you, but because I used them, is those tape dispensers actually have slots in them and have an inner circle.
Right.
So I found like this 16-inch piece of wood. You can jam them in there around in the circle, and then put the top on it, and it keeps it all straight.
Yep.
So
Yeah. So this was what I saw was that you basically had used the sticks here to extend it. And then
yes,
this one looks like you just had one that didn't have the inner circle, but
right, right,
that's a great idea. I think that's a great way of building a water tank to whatever height you want without having to find something and use those as a standard. That's a cool idea. Great
yeah, yeah.
idea.
Thank
Thanks.
you, thank you. And I use different brands of tape in there because I bought them separate on purpose, and they're all the same size diameter. So I didn't gain anything. So, anyways,
Well, I want to wrap this up, Dan, but I have, I think, approximately 5 takeaways from your presentation. Number one, I finally met somebody else that builds like me. I never have any plans. I just start with the first door and the first wall and take the. Now there's two of us.
yeah, okay, well,
The second takeaway was the spraying the silver on the plastic and then hitting it with the matte to tone down the silver and basically take away the tackiness of it and give you a nice something to grab onto with the pan pastels or the chalks. That was a good takeaway.
okay,
The third takeaway, I'm doing this all from memory since not at my desk. I don't even have a pencil here. Third takeaway was the glue, the wood glue, the super wood glue you got from a dollar store, I imagine.
yeah, this stuff right here.
Now, I'm going to try and find this. Where did you get that?
There's Was it Dollar General or is
Okay,
it?
but one of the dollar stores. Yeah.
Yeah,
So that was a nice takeaway.
yeah,
Excellent takeaway.
great stuff.
And then the Steve Sherrill axiom where we call it rescue modeling, where you take a old kit or an old model and use parts of it or all of it on a new model. We call that rescue modeling. So
Hmm.
this presentation catches scratch building and rescue modeling.
Yeah, which those pieces were scratched to begin with.
Yeah, yeah, but I mean it's the
Yeah.
reuse of a kit or reuse of a structure.
Right.
And the idea of putting the figure and the dog in each photo is a great idea because it gives you an idea of the scale, the size of the model. So
Right.
that is why in that tipple that I built, I put a little figure in there so somebody get the idea of the size because
You
you can't
did.
see
Yeah.
that. Can't
I
see that.
noticed.
So I want to thank you, Dan, for
Sure.
a great presentation. And as our Jim Kello, the founder of New Tracks Modeling, said, if you didn't learn something from this particular presentation, you weren't paying attention.
Well,
Ex-
thank you. Appreciate
Excellent
it.
presentation and a great model. it shows how it grows from a Tichy or Grant Line door and some plastic to a contest winning model. So terrific.
Well, thank you. Thanks for that.